Hi everyone. So I finally saw Spider-Man Homecoming and yeah, we'll get into that. So first of all, I've done two other videos on Spider-Man Homecoming. One was about a week ago and it was like asking why is my enthusiasm for this movie so low. The second one was yesterday and it was about the first weekend box office came in and it was pretty bad. There's been 3 cinematic versions of Spider-Man. And the first one of this third version had as big of a drop as the last of the previous 2 versions. So like the last Tobey Maguire one had a big drop off the second week. The second and last Andrew Garfield one had a big 60% drop off the second week. So did this one. I got pretty much, I would say overwhelmingly positive or solid reviews in the comments, people saying, hey, give it a chance. I think the negatives might have been 20%. So the earmarks were that I was going to see a good movie. And I've said this in other video reviews. I'm going to judge something on what it tried to be, not what. So in that regard, this was a solid, probably like a solid B. It wanted to be kind of a Disney Channel take on the Marvel Universe with a silly Spider-Man who screws up all the time and gets in some very low-key adventures. They wanted to tie into the Marvel Universe. They wanted to tell an actually really good villain story. A couple of surprises. And it was successful in all of those type of things. The thing that killed it for me dead, and I almost walked out several times, is their portrayal of Peter Parker and, Spider-Man. It was awful. I kept calling it the pathetic Spider-Boy. In fact, I kept muttering to myself. I kept doing the Picard facepalm and just literally muttering the word pathetic to myself. I probably did that out loud like 5 times. In my head, many more. This Spider-Man is a jagoff. Pathetic. That's the main word I'm thinking of. Everyone knows the story of Spider-Man. He didn't take the hero game seriously. He was selfish. His uncle got killed. This made him grow up. Man, that's what was missing. It made him grow up quickly. He was kind of like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and Stan Lee and all those early Marvel guys, people who lived in the city who grew up quickly. They were getting jobs to help out their parents with the rent. And so that's basically, Peter Parker not only had to deal with the guilt of contributing to his uncle's death, but he also had to materially contribute to the income of the household. This was a guy who was kind of shy, but kind of probably mature for his age, ready for the adult world. And yeah, he was like 15, turning 16 in the comics when he first got his power, but he was very much of a old school working teen. He was taking on adult responsibilities. There was never a point where you would ever think of calling him Spider-Boy. It would have been it would have just been a mismatch. This one, that's the only thing I could think of him, is this is a boy. This is just a callow boy who likes attention, who wants to hang out with cool people. He wants to, it was basically Kick-Ass. It was Kick-Ass without cursing. I actually kind of liked the second one because they treated Hit Girl like an actual human with emotions. She wasn't just like an anime character like she was in the first one. And also Kick-Ass kind of developed a sense of responsibility. But this one, Peter Parker is just overwhelmingly pathetic, except for a little bit at the end. He, first of all, one of the things I kept going on in my head is my son is the age of the main character, and he seems 30 years older than all the kids. First of all, half of the movie is just people saying dude or cool. And it gets old really quickly. His friend is annoying. He has a couple of cool moments, but mainly it's just like two these are not 15-year-olds. I'm pretty sure the writers of this don't have teens, because they're acting like very young kids. I mean, they're acting like 9 to 11. They are not acting 15 at all. Peter Parker pathetically needs help in everything. He's actually called smart several times. He almost is never shown to be smart. In fact, okay, so this is going to be spoilers. There were some really great parts to this movie, and almost all of them revolved around Michael Keaton. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. His daughter, a plot twist, his gang, the whole side plot. Basically, the Vulture has a gang that works off of finding artifacts, like low-key stuff. Not low-key, low-key. Like the Chitauri warriors from the Avengers 1, they'll go find their broken spears and weapons, and that's how they make their weapons, and then they sell them. It's actually a really cool subplot. It's a good tie-in to the Marvel universe, cinematic universe as a whole. The actual origin for them becoming criminals is quite good. Toomes, Adrian Toomes, is like a blue-collar guy. He gets a contract from the city to salvage wreckage from the first Avengers movie. And then basically the feds come in. I thought they were going to be the SHIELD, but it was just the Department of Damage Control. Damage Control is an old Marvel comic from the 80s. But basically they pull you're screwed. And he had invested a lot of money, his whole life savings, in buying equipment. So he basically turns to a life of crime. He has some of the artifacts, uses those to steal more. It's really great. Michael Keaton does great. And then they do a plot twist with his daughter, and that's also excellent. Here's the other funny thing. The teenagers who aren't Spider-Man, his best friend is pretty annoying, but a salvageable character. They were fine. The Zendaya, not only was she not that bad, but she was actually good. Her slave joke wasn't about her being an SJW. It was about her saying something to her liberal white teacher that she knew would just make him nervous and leave her alone. So she's part black, so she starts talking about slavery, and then the white teacher's like, you can just do whatever you want. Stay here. She actually has an interesting character where she's being a little, too cool for school, but there's a great moment where her friends are in trouble, and she doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man, so she's really worried for him, and I thought she did a good job. Also, the kid who played the Flash, it was an interesting twist on the Flash to make him more of like a cutting you down type of bully versus beating you up. Unless you're in the worst school ever, school fights and getting beaten up, in especially high school, that doesn't really happen. I mean, they take that stuff really, really seriously. They made other little changes. Aunt May is now some I don't know. How did I call her? I was just gonna call her a floozy. I mean, she just seems like kind of like a nothing. And their twist on Aunt May is just really bad. I didn't like that at all. She seems like just like a cliche childless New Yorker who's got to take care of a kid, but she takes care of him just fine. She's just kind of very random. She walks in and Peter's in his underwear with his best friend, and she's just put some pants on, but she just does it like she has no human reaction to seeing something weird. Anyway, here's the biggest problem was Peter. That was not Peter Parker. First of all, Peter Parker, this is what I talked about where I call Amadeus Cho Gogurt Hulk. The SJW, since SJW characters are mainly created by white progressives, and they have all these hang-ups about race, they don't want anything bad to happen to them or the characters to have faults, because then they feel if something bad happens to Kamala Khan, then we're saying this about Muslims, and if she has this vice, then you were saying that about Muslims. So Kamala Khan just becomes a superhero. She doesn't have any, big inciting incident like, Bruce Wayne or Spider-Man or Tony Stark. And then she's just kind of fine. Everyone's fine. People like her. There was no gravitas to it at all. You need something It can't just be like, dude, you've got a web shooter. Dude, you've got a spider drone. Dude, your suit is cool. Like, that's like 60% of the movie. It's just cosplay. It's just, there's no weight to it. There's no gravitas. There's no pathos. It's just, OMG, dude, I'm totally Spider-Man. The humor related to his friend was like, it was painful. And literally someone says, oh my gosh, or cool, or something like that, or dude, like more than 100 times. Peter is absolutely pathetic and can't figure out basic things. He's constantly needing help. He's basically like single white female for Tony Stark. After his thing with the Avengers, he basically like sits around for a year, just like, can I help? Can I help? Then he's being his friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and it's pathetic. He just literally like is just in his own block, and he doesn't go to Manhattan. Like he's never been. He was given a very, very soft like suggestion to stay near the ground. He doesn't go into Manhattan where, you know, the criminals are. He doesn't even go to like bad parts of like Brooklyn. He just stays in his little Queens neighborhood. Literally, like, it's like they do a montage. You can tell it's supposed to be funny. It's just stupid. Like, he's pathetic. He's just like a stalker ex, always texting Tony and waiting to become an Avenger, as if you can only just like God, one point was annoying. There were so many annoying parts. One part, someone was like, yo, Spider-Man, do a flip. And then he does a flip, but it's like a flip like a normal person can do. It's like, what the hell? Jeez. So he just sits there pathetically waiting to be called up to be the Avengers. He doesn't really prove himself in any way. Then he gets a chance to stop a bank robbery. He totally screws it up. He has the ferry scene, which is actually pretty well directed, pathetically screws it up. Like, absolutely pathetic. He's constantly needs help from Tony Stark, his fat friend. I am not making this up. An AI for his suit called Karen. Jeez. So literally, he never thinks through anything. He just asks questions. He literally just says, "How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this?" It's literally like he's like a video. It's like your friend or you if you play video games, but you don't really care. So you don't really try to puzzle your way through anything. You just, when you get stuck in a door, you tell your friend like, "Hey, how do I get out?" You know, and then you're like, "How do I beat this guy?" And sometimes your friend will be like, "Well, dude, there's no fun to it." He goes, I'm not really into this game. I don't care. Just tell me how to get out of this room." That's how he treats like his whole life. And I mean, this is like most of the movie. There's a scene, God, so stupid. He gets trapped inside a vehicle and then it goes to a storage place and he's just stuck in a storage place like all night long. It's pathetic. And he's like, he's talking to the AI in his suit and like trying to get my thoughts. Okay, first of all, number one, my son is much more mature than Peter. Number two, there's no gravitas of his uncle dying. He's just a jagoff who just wants to be with the Avengers because he thinks it's cool. He's completely incompetent, and I mean like ridiculously so. Even like, I kept thinking about Kick-Ass. Even Kick-Ass, man, Kick-Ass looks like Spider-Man 2 compared to this movie. You know, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, which pretty much everyone loves. Gee, God, that's sad, because Kick-Ass was kind of trash, but it was at least solidly made trash. I mean, they had the friend who thought it was cool that his friend was a superhero. This one, like, they got this fat kid, and Peter's 15, and one of his first things is he's literally on a Lego playdate with his best friend. Unless you're trying to say he's the biggest loser ever and is completely pathetic. Now, I think they're trying to do like, haha, he's such a geek, blah, blah, blah. It was pathetic. They have a romance with Liz Allen. Liz Allen actually seems like a 15-year-old. So she's mature. She's trying to act older. She's being responsible. There's a point where Peter asks her out, and I think she's supposed to be like maybe like a year or two older than him. But it's weird because it's like a 9-year-old asking her out. Like Peter is, I cannot emphasize how immature and pathetic Peter Parker is. Geez, there's one scene where they have these, they're finding these energy sources for like the Chitauri weapons that got made into Toomes' gang's weapons. And Peter brings this component, kind of like a module he brings it to his science class. Bracing for this one. He starts hitting it with a hammer. It's glowing energy. It's obviously volatile. And he's hitting it with a hammer like a moron. And I'm not like talking once or twice. He's just kind of like wailing on it with a hammer. He's like Homer Simpson. He's an idiot. And then later on he finds out, hey, and they do this cutesy thing where they're like, the glowy thingy. And he can't call it like a power source, which it obviously is. Or maybe even a generator. So he's just like, we need to find out what the glowy thingy is. And he's a total airhead. He acts like he's, 9 years old, completely incompetent, and he doesn't really get better. His power range is all freaking over the place. He doesn't have spider sense, which is just weird. He relies, honestly, he's basically the Scarlet Spider. He relies on his suit to advise him almost all the time. He can't fight. He barely web swings. The constant need of help was the most pathetic thing. I was talking about Harry Potter is more of a girl's hero because it's about like consensus and community, but this wasn't community. This was literally just an incompetent, immature person fumbling through every single scene. And there is a part where he kind of gets he's basically being crushed to death by debris. There's actually some good stuff with him meeting Toomes and meeting like an adult and realizing he's got to step it up. But then he gets in a battle with them, and it's just kind of like, it's not very well directed. All of a sudden, he actually goes, his strength varies wildly. At one time, he's going up to Washington Monument, and he gets tired. And he's trying to kick through like bulletproof glass, and he can't do it. But at other times, he can hold a ferry that's got to be 500 tons. But he can hold it from splitting apart with his, hands and his web shooters. And then, every single part of the Tobey Maguire movies, even the dance numbers from Spider-Man 3 were better than most of this movie. I gotta say, this Toomes Vulture was probably the best villain out of all the Spider-Man movies. He was great. And there was a twist. It was an actual twist. I think everyone's seen it by now. Well, from the drop-off pretty much everyone's seen it. But pathetic. So where would I number it? It's way below all the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. Magnitudes lower than that, except for the villain subplot. As for Andrew Garfield, I thought the first one with the lizard was terrible. I would say the good parts of this are better than the good parts of that. I don't remember any good parts from the first one. I did like the second one, about half of it. I forgot to qualify. I don't like the whole thing. Everything with Electro is trash, but there's all kinds of other little things that I liked. The subplot with his parents in both movies was solid. I would put this second to worst among all of them. And I hate Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is so much better than this movie. So tell me what you think of this movie. Tell me what you think of... I don't even consider this Spider-Man. This is the pathetic Spider-Boy. Tell me what you think about this rendition of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. This movie just kind of made me sad, and then it made me angry. So thanks for watching, and I'll have another video up later tonight.